Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today is Friday, which means it is Book Review Friday once again. This is going to be a very interesting review. I say that all the time, I know. I feel like I repeat myself in all of these videos, but today we are talking about Scanlines by Todd Keisling. I have a lot of thoughts. But let's talk about the cover because I think the cover is wonderful. I think it is so awesome. I love the glitching effect. It's very creepy, very spooky. I absolutely love this cover. So unique and so different, and it fits the book so well that it impressed me. From the moment I saw it, I was like, this is a cover that I really like. There's a graphic depiction right here. Very, you know, it shows you what you're about to get yourself into. You know what I'm saying? I really like that on the back it is, you know, it keeps it going. I like that you can see his face right here. Still very creepy. I just overall really think this is a very unique and cool and just very beautiful yet disturbing cover. Really like this one. So let's get into a synopsis. This synopsis is going to be very quick. I can't say a lot about it because this is a rather short book. This is a novella, so I do not want to give too much away. The synopsis will just be very quick and a little bit vague, but I am going to give you information because when you do read the synopsis on Goodreads, it pretty much tells you what the story's about. It doesn't leave, you know, too much out. So I'm gonna go into some detail, but not a lot. This story centers around Robbie and his friends who one day decide to use the internet to download porn. Except instead of porn, the video that they download is much more sinister. This video graphically shows a man committing suicide. The aftermath of watching this video is something none of the boys expected. They dream about the man. They even start seeing the man when they're awake. He won't leave them alone. Okay, that's all I'm gonna tell you about the synopsis. Like I said, I give you a little bit, but I'm gonna keep it pretty short and vague-ish. First off, let's start with a quick trigger warning. I'm sure that you guys can kind of gather from the synopsis that I just gave you that this book is going to talk about suicide. Not only does the video that they watch have suicide involved in it, but there are several scenes throughout the book and it is mentioned throughout the book. If suicide is not something you like to read about or you are triggered by suicide, I would be extremely cautious with this story just because it is a main focal point. So I just think you should be extremely cautious and go into it knowing that. And if you don't want to read something like this, probably stay away from this one just because it's not going to be a one-time thing. It's throughout the entire story. This is my second book by Todd Keisling. The first book I ever read was Devil's Creek. I read it a few months ago, so it's a pretty recent read for me, and that is about a cult, and I really did enjoy that story. I liked some parts more than I liked others, but overall I did enjoy this one. So when I received this story in my April Nightworms package, I was pretty excited because if you've seen that video, I had no idea what this story was about, and when I read the back, I was instantly intrigued. It sounded like something that I was going to be interested in and something that I had never seen before, and so I was pretty excited about this one actually. So I was excited to have it, and I did want to read it pretty soon. That's why I got to it so quickly. But yeah, overall I was just impressed with the plot description. I thought it was going to be right up my alley. I also love a good coming of age story in the horror genre. It's some of my absolute favorite kind of stories. I just think that they're just something that a lot of people can relate to because we have all been through that experience or are going through that experience. So I feel like we all can kind of relate to it to some point, and I feel like people that were teenagers in the 90s will absolutely relate to this one. There are mentions of certain websites, certain games, dial-up internet. I feel like if you grew up in the 90s, you will 100% relate to some extent with this story, and I feel like it'll probably bring up some old memories. I wasn't a teenager in the 90s. I was born in 95, so I grew up more in the 2000s, but I do remember dial-up internet and stuff like that. So yeah, it didn't hit extremely home for me. I was able to get a sense of where the story was coming from and, you know, had a sense of the time period that it was taking place in. I really liked the idea of the story. I liked that these teenagers were just looking up porn and they came across this really gruesome, horrible, you know, terrifying video, and then it starts haunting them mentally and physically. It was a very unique story. It kind of reminded me of The Ring a little bit. At certain points I was kind of like, oh, that's similar to The Ring, so I had some sort of little connection that way. This is even based off of a real life horror that occurred, so I really thought that this was going to terrify me. I really thought this was going to just, you know, give me what I wanted. That really creeped out, scared, terrified feeling, you know? The feeling that I crave when I read horror. I really thought this was going to be the one to do it, especially since this was based off of a real thing, which is something that I genuinely love. Realistic horror is my absolute favorite, so I really thought this was just going to be a home run. But I'm not sure what happened because this just didn't work for me. This had all the elements that I look for in a good horror story. I really thought I was going to love this one. Like I said, it had everything I look for. It really truly did. But for some reason, when you put it all together and I read it, I don't know, it just didn't work. It felt very lackluster. It just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me. I'm unsure if this has to do with the length. This is only like a little bit over 100 pages, so I'm not sure if maybe it being longer would have satisfied me more. I'm not sure. It's just one theory that I have. I'm saying this because if it had been a little longer, I feel like those really scary moments would have been able to be even scarier, or would have been worked up for me, because I just didn't feel anything when I was reading the scarier parts. I didn't have any real feelings towards them, and I don't know if it's because this is a shorter novella type story, and with those it is hard because you have to make those scary points really sharp, and, you know, just hit the mark with those, because you only have a certain amount of time to get your point across, and then there's the ending. So I'm unsure if it was just a length thing for me, and if it had been just a smidge longer, maybe those scarier moments would have been able to be amped up a bit for me. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't give me anything, I guess. Like I said, I didn't feel scared or freaked out. I didn't really even bat an eye at most of the story. I was just kind of like, okay, yeah. And I'm genuinely disappointed that I didn't feel anything towards this, because I really truly thought that this was going to be that one to give me those feelings, you know, and I'm sad that it didn't. I don't know, it just didn't make me feel anything. I absolutely hate that I didn't feel anything, because that's literally the worst, is when you don't feel anything. And I hate that I didn't feel anything. It's really upsetting to me, actually, that I didn't feel anything. So yeah, I don't know. I did really like that there were journal entries scattered throughout the story, and it actually looked like someone had written inside the book, so it looked like handwriting, which I really thought was cool, and it added that realistic touch that I love so much, so I thought that was interesting. There weren't too many journal entries, or they weren't too long, so it didn't feel like too much, you know? I know some people hate journal entries or diary entries because there's just too much of that, or it takes too long to get to the point, but these were very short, and yeah, there weren't too many of them, so I did enjoy that. I also really liked that they had these stop, fast forward, rewind little designs at the top of paragraphs or at the bottom of paragraphs to kind of show when it was changing past, present, that kind of thing. I just like that it kept in theme with the tech vibe. The whole book had to do with the internet, so I thought that was very interesting. And I don't know, it just gave a little touch that I really enjoyed. I really liked that was just a little addition. It was very small, but it made a big difference to me, and I really enjoyed it. At the end of the book, the author goes into detail about what inspired this story and his own experiences, and how this story is about depression and suicide and the fine line between the two. And I really did like that explanation, because I felt like after reading it, I kind of grasped what this story was trying to convey and the message behind it. It made me sad that I didn't get it while reading it, because like I said, I didn't have any feelings really. I didn't have really any big emotions while reading this story. It made me sad because when I read the explanation by the author, I was like, oh, that's a really neat and meaningful idea for this story. It makes sense. I understand it now. I grasp the concept. But again, I was just still disappointed because I didn't fully connect to this one, and that's really, really heartbreaking for me that I didn't feel anything, and it makes me sad. I'm just disappointed that I didn't feel anything. This is a very meaningful, deep, profound type of story, and I think a lot of people will definitely connect to it, and I'm just really sad that I didn't. I'm really, really sad that I didn't. And I know not every story is for every reader. I know not every reader is going to agree, and we're all going to have differences, and not everything's going to mean the same thing to everybody. But it is sad to have something not work for you. It's not a great feeling, and I hate it. So I'm really sad that this one didn't give me what I wanted. I liked the idea. I like the message, I like the thoughtfulness of this story, and this has a lot of positive reviews on Goodreads, so, you know, take my review into consideration, but know that that's just my opinion. Seriously, if this sounds like something you would enjoy, I highly, 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 highly recommend checking it out. Don't just go solely based off of my review. Go check out other people's reviews, read what they have to say. There's a lot of positive stuff on this one, and I do really like the idea behind this one. So if this sounds like something that would resonate with you, if this sounds like something you would really like to check out, I urge you to go check it out. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. As I say with all of my reviews, this is just my opinion. Sometimes they just don't hit for me and they miss the mark, but that does not mean that this one won't be for you. I want to make sure you know that. So please let me know what you think of this one in the comments down below. I'd love to talk, see if anyone feels the same or feels differently. I think that would be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to reading more by Todd Keisling. I'm hoping that maybe I will find something in between Devil's Creek and Scanlines that will just be the winning book for me and be an all-time favorite, and I will absolutely love and adore and treasure. So I will keep reading his work. I will find something that I really like. I'm sure of it because I do like the way he writes, and I like his plots, and I like his book ideas. So I'm sure there's something out there for me. I'm sure. I'll be waiting. I'll be watching for it. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for my review on Scanlines by Todd Keisling. I'm sorry this is a negative review. You guys know that's not my favorite type, but I have to be honest. I have to tell you guys how I was feeling while I was reading and my overall thoughts. That's what I do on this channel, and I just gotta be honest. That's how I felt. Okay, let's hope next week is a more positive review, because I don't like these kinds of reviews, so let's keep our fingers crossed. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends. Talk about books, makeup, movies, horror, all kinds of things. I do a lot on this channel, so hopefully there's something for everyone. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday with a new video. Bye!